wherever you're coming in from the world. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to facilitate for us today. As a moderator, we have some amazing entrepreneurs to partake in this discussion today. And it doesn't go over my head that literally in this moment we're making Black history during this Black History Month. Um, and so, welcome to everyone who's in the audience. Welcome to our wonderful panelists, Evin, Breanna, Mandy. Thank you all so much for your engagement before this to make this successful. And I'm very much so looking forward to this conversation. Again, I'm Derrius Quarles, hailing from Chicago, born and raised, currently located in Chicago as well, primarily doing my entrepreneurial work. I am the co-founder of Bro Capital, which is the first financial platform dedicated to increasing the financial wellness and health of Black men. We've built a network of Black men who are pooling their capital together across the nation to co-invest that money back into the community, back into their families. I'm very proud of what we've been able to achieve in our 7-year history. And I'm very proud to call myself a Global Good Fund Fellow. So thank you all again for this opportunity to facilitate today. And I'm going to kick it off sort of with a small reflection of sort of what this moment means to me, what I'm personally thinking about during this Black History Month, and segue that into asking our panelists, all of them, to participate in this first question of sort of, what does this Black History Month mean to you? What does this moment in time mean to you? Something that I'm reflecting on is a video that I came across a couple weeks ago, a thought leader who shared that, something that we can be proud of as Black people in general, not just Black entrepreneurs, is that our ancestors have given us so much in terms of the platform that they provided for us to stand on. And so many of the sacrifices that we think we need to make today have already really been made for us. And so in a lot of ways, it's about us sort of building upon what they've already given us versus always having to feel like we have to toil and work so hard towards things. So that brought me a moment of solace coming across that video. And it's something that I'm continuing to reflect on throughout this moment. I personally do feel like we're making Black history as we speak, just like our ancestors did when they were doing what they were doing in their present time. I think it can really go over our heads that literally what we're doing today, what we continue to wake up to do, that it's going to benefit somebody else into the future that we might not even meet or engage with in person or in this lifetime. So a question to all of the panelists here today: what are you reflecting on in this Black History Month? What does this moment mean to you? And whoever wants to jump in first.
Yes, I can jump in. As a disclaimer, my sinuses are doing something crazy today, so if I'm making funny faces, that is why. What does Black History Month mean to me, or Black history? For me, I think what I've gone back to is that, we are consistently always making history. There have been so many stories this month about, new feats, new historic deals, and, accolades that a lot of, Black entrepreneurs or Black people in general are accomplishing. So for me, there's a lot of pride in Black history because I see it every day. And it's such a privilege to be able to, see history as it's happening. So yeah, that's something I've been going back to this month.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm happy to jump in. I would totally agree. When I think about Black history, I actually think about it just not from a US perspective, but a global perspective as well. We've overcome a lot as a community and have to overcome a lot of obstacles. Despite a lot of those obstacles, there's a lot of perseverance. There's a lot of innovation and there's a lot of positive attitude globally around the collective, I say, progress that we continue to make as a community. So when I think about my personal Black history from like my family perspective, as well as a global Black history, it's one that I'm very proud of. And I always think about this interview that I watched with Maya Angelou and Oprah. And Maya Angelou was particularly talking about, a lot of times when we're navigating society and we're navigating different rooms, that we need to understand that our crown has been paid for by our ancestors. And that should give you reassurance that whatever place that you're operating in, that you belong to be there, that you belong there, and that you have, the kind of like the natural abilities and already kind of like the resume to be there. Never like downplay yourself, essentially. So particularly always during Black History Month, when I'm personally reflecting or I get questions asked like this, that is one kind of clip from a interview that always comes back to the top of my mind, of hearing Maya Angelou talk about your crown has been paid for by your ancestors. And that has really helped, boost my own personal and professional confidence in the way that I operate and conduct myself personally in business.
Appreciate that, Evin. Thank you. Breanna, would you like to close us out on this question?
Yes, and what Evin and Mandy both said were phenomenal. I would like to say, when I think about Black History Month, I like to think about gratitude. I like to embrace that because I'm thankful. I think we're all thankful that we don't have to endure what our ancestors did, what our anybody else had to go through. They didn't have the opportunities we had now. They had to do things that I don't think I'll be able to do today in order to, get funds and do things. We're having opportunities to where we can pursue maybe lavish lifestyles, help others. Back then we didn't have a voice. So the fact that we've overcame all of this and able to be able to do more than what we did back then, it's a blessing. So when I think about Black History Month, I think about just having gratitude, being thankful. Because a lot of us, to be honest, the way our mindsets are, how we would grow, how we were brought up, being spoiled or however, we wouldn't have made it back then. So now it's time for us to, give back and show more gratitude.
Thank you, Breanna. I'm in such alignment with that. Thank you for sharing that, giving us that reminder. I'll take that throughout this conversation and beyond. So, Mandy, a specific question for you. Looked you up, dug deep into some of your interviews, so I could come most prepared. And in a previous interview, you mentioned during your time at Babson as a college student that you were inspired by the history of Black ownership globally, and the story of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So could you take us a little bit more into how learning about that history, digging into it, lit a fire under you?
Yeah, so this was during this time, I just found a number of books about Black history, from like music to Black business history. And I stumbled across a book called Right and Remembrance. And it was about, the Tulsa race massacre, and also about the neighborhood itself and how prosperous it was and the different types of businesses that were there. And for me, this is such a major part of American history that I was shocked that I was just learning it. So that was one part that, lit a fire under me. But it also reminded me a lot of, um, my neighborhood in Brooklyn and many other, Black neighborhoods where there is this sense of community and, helping each other out, and just, feeling like there's always someone watching or watching out for you. And so learning about this history, especially someone as, I've always been an aspiring entrepreneur. So being able to see this example of, flourishing Black entrepreneurs, it really made me want to go out and, support as many Black businesses as possible. And that's where the idea for Official Black Wall Street was born.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. Has there been any other examples, Evin, Breanna, of, moments of sort of inspiration or moments of sort of clarity that have emerged just from something you've learned, about the history of Black ownership or the history of the Black experience that you like to share?
Definitely inspiration. Just seeing, I could use maybe my dad as an example. He grew up 10th grade education, didn't get to graduate at all. Grew up in a big family. They were very poor, to be honest. And he did not want to relive or have to have us grow up like that. So to see him with a 10th grade education, but very good with numbers, and be able to have a $1 million company and, embrace a lot of things, that inspired me to become an entrepreneur. Because I know if he can do it, or any of his peers and, siblings can do it, I know I can do it. And just seeing, and just seeing, just it's hard to explain, but just seeing all of, our fellow peers just do what they're doing and succeeding and not giving up. That's the main thing. Do not give up. Don't give up. And just succeeding in that, it's a blessing. So that has inspired me to keep going. Currently I am 9 months pregnant. So there's times I've been wanting to give up, but just knowing that they did it, I know we can do it, and definitely I can do it. So that's been a very big inspiration.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I will also say like inspiration has always been around me at a young age without me even realizing it, right? Like when I backtrack just even now and I think about like my life growing up, similarly, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I think I was an entrepreneur because of my environment without realizing the influence that my environment was having on me. So if it's something as simple like needing to make some extra cash or going to shovel snow with my friends or selling candy in high school, like the small steps, that were ingraining in me aren't the entrepreneurial spirit at a young age, or started my first business in high school. Those were all things that were baked into me because what was around me at an even younger age. So I reflect on like sitting at my grandma's kitchen table in the morning, eating grits before I went to school, reading Black Enterprise or picking up like Ebony and Jet that my grandma would have in the kitchen at the kitchen table, or as I got older, like reading Kimbrough Dennis Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice book. Like those were things that help build a foundation inside of me that was solidify later on, right? That I didn't even realize. So when I think about inspiration was always around me, but over the years it was accumulating to what it's become today. So I'm very grateful for my upbringing because I realized a lot of those success stories were organically planted around me. And as I stumbled upon them through the magazines and through conversation, it always helped me aspire for a future vision of myself and my community.
Thank you all so much. It's amazing. Sort of finding a red thread or a connecting thread between the stories. Mandy, you mentioned in Brooklyn, your home, the importance of that. Breanna, your dad. Evin, your grandmother, the people around you. I want to thank you all just for bringing your family stories, your family narratives into this. I find when we having these types of conversations, whether maybe less so in private when we're just amongst ourselves, but like on public platforms, we kind of shy away from telling those stories sometimes and letting them know that, yeah, I was inspired by my grandmother, versus it being like somebody you've never met before who you just sort of saw in a magazine, like that being the only place we can get inspiration from. So I find that to be very authentic and very real, and relatable, for any of the young Black entrepreneurs who are looking up. And I'm sure it's folks looking up to you all literally as we speak, whether we know it or not. It's folks looking up to you all, and getting inspired by your story because they see you every day, or they get to interact with you in a real way, in a way that they don't with potentially some of their other role models. So thank you all for weaving that in. Evin, directing this question to you. We want to celebrate you today, man. America on Tech is going to be celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. So we want to offer up congratulations on that. That's not a small deal whatsoever. And so throwing that up right now on this platform for everybody to know, let us know what month that is so that we can have that. And after that, would like you to just reflect on, these past 10 years. That's a lot of time, a lot of hours, minutes. Is there anything that's resonating with you in this moment, sort of as you think about the totality of those 10 years?
Yeah, definitely. So first, thank you for recognizing that, and I appreciate that. It's very heartfelt, because the 10 years has not been an easy, easy journey. And we'll make 10 years coming up in November. And then we're actually doing a big celebration. So for anyone in New York City, we're having a big gala in Chelsea Piers. And then similarly, we'll be having a big gala in Los Angeles to celebrate our 10 years, and some community events as well in Miami, the three cities that we're currently operating in. But when I reflect on the 10 years, this really came out of the birth of America on Tech, which was originally Brooklyn on Tech, really came out of a passion of realizing a need in our community. I had finished college, started working in technology, and a lot of people were talking about Brooklyn was changing. And what I was realizing that, Brooklyn wasn't just changing, there was a new job market in Brooklyn that a lot of people were not aware of. Like you had what they called at the time the Brooklyn Tech Triangle. So it was like the Brooklyn Navy Yard, Metro Tech, downtown Brooklyn, as well as pockets of like where the Barclay Center is now is the basketball stadium, as well as pockets of Williamsburg and Greenpoint. So all of these technology companies were coming there, but people from the Brooklynites were not aware of these opportunities that were in their own backyards. And so me and my co-founder had shared this local economic report that said that there was a lack of diversity in the technology ecosystem of Brooklyn because there was a lack of skill sets. And being Brooklynites, we knew that there wasn't a lack of skill sets from Brooklynites, but there was a lack of access and opportunity. So that small indication of us realizing that what people were saying about our community was incorrect, birth would become America on Tech, right? So when we first started, we were really driven towards helping where I was from, which was Brownsville, East New York, Brooklyn, those two pockets of Brooklyn. And then over the years, the demand for our program had just grew to a national level. Now, to make this kind of even like a shorter thing for the panel, I say it wasn't a small feat because, I did everything. We got a big team now, but before we had a team, I was the one leaving work, going into community centers, going into barbershops, going into different housing projects, everything across New York City, like giving out flyers about our program, going into check cashing places, like wherever I thought like I could reach a young person or where, a family member would be an interaction point, supermarkets go interaction point to reach young students. I was going in and handing out our flyers and just trying to build grassroots connections to our community. And now, we see students leaving our programs making about $200,000 in total comp, getting really great jobs at all the companies that you could think of. And some companies you probably never heard of, but are very innovative in their particular spaces. And I know that all came out of long nights and a lot of no's, right? And so if there are people on this panel that are also chasing an entrepreneurial journey, understand that yes, there's a lot of hard work and that, there's going to be a lot of no's along the way, but as long as you keep going, you'll have that impact that you want to have on your community. And when I'm in a space now of like gratitude and like self care, right? And for a long time, I was just going and building and using the no's and the pushback as like motivation. And now I'm at that reflective point at 10 years of like reflecting on our actual success and realizing all that we've accomplished and really giving myself my flowers now. So I'll pause there to make a long story short, but it's a 10-year sprint that has really motivated me personally, but motivated me in the sense that I really see the change that is having on our communities and the people that, are often written off just because, to be honest, like how we look. A lot of times it's not that we don't have the skill sets, it's because of what people see when they look at certain individuals and think what they can contribute. But we're helping break those barriers every day. I'm really proud of the America on Tech team and my co-founder Jessica for all of us collectively putting our best foot forward in this effort nationally. So thank you for that recognition.
Absolutely. And shout out to Jessica. I hope she's doing well. yeah, just taking that moment to take that all in. Thank you for sharing that, Evin. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I've been familiar with it for some time, and I'm personally inspired and know how many lives you've touched, in this short amount of time. So thank you for that, Breanna. Building off of that, um, and on the bottom portion of what Evin was referring to, he talked a little bit about wellness and what it looks like today to take care of himself and sort of have that in his focus. And I know that that's a big part of your work, right? Your company, Badu Salon and Studio, takes an intentional approach to fostering the emotional well-being and mental health of his clients. So sort of this merging of aesthetics, beauty, hair, nails, makeup, and building in something that can often sort of go overlooked within people's daily lives, and that's how they're doing, how they're both feeling, how their health is. What inspired you to merge these two worlds?
I'm glad you said that, Darius. What inspired me to open up Badu Salon? I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all know Erica Badu. She's very creative. I'm a creative being. I've always liked her since I was a young child. And she's very knowledgeable as well. So growing up, I do have older parents, and I'm the only child between my two parents. And I'm very observant. So what I've learned is that a lot of us are walking around with active depression. We keep ourselves busy. We're always, trying to do this and do that, work and work, and we're not taking care of ourselves. You can be beautiful all day long. You can be handsome all day long, but are you mentally okay? Your brain is what functions your body. So if your temple is just beautiful and your brain dead, what's your purpose? You know what I'm saying? So mental well-being is very much essential because that's how we raise our children. That's how we make a means in life. When I first opened up, well, Badu in my salon is Badu, and the U has two dots and it symbolizes a smiley face. So I do have a lot of teenagers come to me, a lot of just different races, different ages and all. And what I've learned is that from little kids to older adults, we're all battling something within. And a lot of time when you get them in here and you just get to talking and being yourself, because I'm a talkative person. I'm a people person. So they'll really open up to you. And sometimes that's all they need. They might just want to come sit in your chair just because I'm having a bad day and I want to vent to somebody. And I don't know you like that, man, but I trust you. I'm trusting your energy right now. So it's kind of like a safe space here. So they get to talking and everything. I had one lady, she reached out to me. Her daughter was 12 years old and she tried to commit suicide. And so just being transparent, we all have had a past where, you know, the devil can get inside you, inside your mind. And so whenever you're able to overcome something and be able to help someone else, that's the blessing. So I feel like that's my purpose here, is to help others beyond the making them feel beautiful outside, but how do you feel inside? I've had wives who were going through divorces, and they was losing themselves. I've had single mothers who haven't combed their hair in months. So, they didn't feel pretty, so they didn't act really pretty. And so it's just a beautiful feeling knowing that um taking care of someone else's mental health, including your own, it can change the world. And I noticed that when I did this, I was not taking care of my mental health. I was a freshly new mom. Um and again, just having active depression. So, and watching my parents do the same thing, it was like a generational curse. So I'm here to stop it.
Mm.
And if I can help anybody I come across, I'm going to do that. I feel like that's my purpose, is to help others, not just to look pretty, but to know that you are somebody, to know that you will overcome everything that's thrown your way, to know that this is not the end result. Like, so
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And you'll be celebrating 4 years later in the year as well. 4 years in October.
Yes. In June, it'll be 4 years I've been open.
Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations to you. We're gonna
Thank you.
celebrate you come June, come this summer. then you'll have another little one in the world
Yes. Yes, thank
as
you.
well. And building off of that point too, with the industry that you're in, the beauty industry, you described it as a competitive one, right? It's a lot of options out there, and you've come across a lot of people like within this competitive industry that, you know, sort of beauty. That's not a mechanism of like empowering people. That's not something that they center. So, how does you sort of your approach, your this unique approach that you just described? Um, how, how has that sort of gave you a potential advantage, or how do you leverage that sort of as a way to kind of keep you inspired within the work, knowing that not everybody is approaching this from this sort of people-centered, approach that you're using?
Well, given that the beauty industry is very much overly saturated, what helps my business stand out and me as well is that I'm an approachable person, but I'm very authentic and genuine. So just to be very transparent, because that's who I am, I have a speech impediment. So I used to stutter real bad, and I still do sometimes. So I like even public speaking sometimes makes me very nervous, and I get to stuttering and get stuck on my vowels. But I used to be bullied about that sometimes, and then I went to therapy and got over that. So I'm able to relate to a lot of people who want to get something done to them, but they're scared to approach someone. Because what I've learned is that people can be on social media looking a certain way, and then you get to know them, and they're snobby and rude, and they're just about their money. When you come here, it's gonna feel like home. You'll come in here a stranger, but you'll leave a friend. Like you'll leave here a friend. You'll always remember me. So and going it's beyond the physical appearance. And going, I love this quote with Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So that's one thing that sticks out to me, because there's a lot of things, we have came across with others, and they might have said some things you don't know verbatim what they said, but you remember how it made you feel. And some people won't go back to you. But I've always had reoccurring clients. So just me being approachable, me being genuine, and actually worried about someone's mental well-being. And I'm focusing on the men and the women. I also do facials as well. I do beard washes for the guys. We do cuts and everything. I have a barber in here. He's a pastor. So, you come here, you might get a word. And it's and it's just a good environment, because it does take a village. A lot of us do get overlooked. And sometimes we can't walk in certain barbershops or certain beauty salons and be accepted. They might look at you like, what you doing in here? Because there's certain businesses that are still like that. So here, everyone is welcome. I don't discriminate. We do red, white, and blue, whatever, brown, whatever. So it's just, I feel like just being authentic and genuine and actually spreading love and showing gratitude is what makes me stand out, because not everyone is like that. They're about their money and that's it.
Amazing, amazing. It's so much Black history wrapped up in the beauty salon, the barbershop. And that just, even in hearing you speaking, I don't think I was intent on telling this story, but I do feel that it's an important story, personal story of mine. A big part of my entrepreneurial journey started in the barbershop. My cousin still to the day owns a barbershop on the south side of Chicago. That was like my first formal job, the job where it's like, look, you need to be here at this time, right? You being held accountable. It was very structured. I was a cleanup boy in that barbershop for 3 years. I learned so much within that environment, and being under my cousin's tutelage at the time in ways that it took maybe a decade later for me to fully understand all that I received over those 3 years of both learning how to cut hair. I apprenticed and learned how to cut hair professionally at the time, and got to work sort of as the janitor within the space. And it's so many other people who I've interacted with over the years where at some point, the barbershop or the beauty salon has like touched them. It's been a source of inspiration, a source of balm for them. So thank you for continuing that work. Thank you for continuing that history. If people aren't, anybody on this call who isn't familiar with the history of Black salons and Black barbershops, look it up. Like, they've been a part of the social justice movement. They've been a part of the civil rights movement. And they've been a big source of economic bolstering within the community as well. So shout out to Black salons and Black barbershops. Yeah.
I have one more thing too. Forgot to mention. So with my logo, I love afros, and I love trees. So if you look at a tree and everything, it looks like a mini afro. So a lot of us don't even take care of our crown. So you know, we have people who have locks, and the locks look like the branches on trees. So every day, I feel like we relate to nature a lot too. So you know, nature takes care of us, so we have to take care of ourselves because our body, our temple is everything. So people don't know how to take care of themselves and groom themselves. So just coming here and, you know, like getting your crown done and everything is very much essential. And I'm also going to connect with it's a guy in the Black Panther Revolution Party in Dallas. He had reached out to me because I do a podcast as well, and so he wanted to collab and kind of do the same thing we're doing right now. So that's what I want to say. But it just I'm very thankful and I show a lot of gratitude to our people. I mean, I love everybody, you know, but just knowing where we came from and what we had to endure, it means a lot, you know, and I'm just loving to wrap everything up into one.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you for that closing.
Yes.
So building into a question that I can ask all of you all, if you feel like contributing. We know that this entrepreneurship thing is not an easy journey. Evin, you mentioned that you are centering yourself a little bit more in terms of your health, your wellness these days. A question for all of you, because I think it's important for all of us as entrepreneurs to be thinking about this. If we aren't actively thinking about this, that is like, what are the ways you're taking care of yourselves right now? How are you centering your health and wellness right now?
That's a good question. I'll jump in. For me, boundaries is a really big one. I learned firsthand during the pandemic how stressful it can be if you don't have those boundaries and aren't able to delegate. And so I have learned, I even have boundaries with work. Like don't answer emails past a certain time because I want people to understand that my time is, for me. Also giving myself my mornings so that I have the time to, ease into the workday and not just jump straight into work. Um, Another big thing for me is movement. So I love going for walks. They're very therapeutic. I love actually going to the gym, even just going on drives where I can practice mindfulness and being present, but definitely creating those boundaries so that I'm not overextending myself and, on the verge of going into burnout again, has been really important for me.
Amazing. Thank you. Evin, you want to build on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. So for me, it looks various different ways, to be honest with you. So like one is definitely walks. Take a lot of walks. I love being by bodies of water. I don't know if it's because I'm a Pisces or whatever, but I love just being by water and it helps center me. I box a lot, so a lot of my week throughout the week for my mode of exercise is either boxing or like light cardio. I just started picking up jujitsu, so that's something that I've incorporated into my fitness routine as well. From an environment perspective, I understand now, like because I've been going so hard for a lot of years now, that like I can live life by choice, right? And so simple things like I'll just say like I like my house to smell a certain way, so I like my crib to smell like eucalyptus or lavender. So I'm very intentional about certain smells. I'm very intentional about certain visuals in my home. So certain pieces of art, certain colors, layout, right? So those are things that I've become more intentional about as I reprioritize like self-care for myself from from a workout perspective, and even from a small micro perspective, like how a room smells, right? Even conversations with friends, to be transparent, I realized like I would have conversations, but a lot of times, a lot of my conversations were centered around like always personal development or business or something like that. And so just me being more intentional about just having more lighthearted, just, jokey, feel good conversations, and everything doesn't have to be about the next step, right? So just even my approach to just like conversations and relationship building and rapport. So I've seen those changes. And that's more to answer the question more direct. Like those are the things that I've been doing to prioritize self-care for myself and other various different things as well.
Amazing. And Breanna, you want to cap us off on this one?
I sure will, Derrius. What I have been doing to improve my mental health is I love to journal and write poetry. Because this mind here just be going. So I like to put it on paper. I like to make things happen. I like to write it out too, so I can keep my mouth closed. Because I've learned that I used to not respond too well to things. I used to talk from an emotional standpoint, and that just I realized that that showed my emotional intelligence where that was at, and the emotional maturity. So I had to work on that. So I write things down to get things out of me, and I might rip it up, or I might just leave it, and 2 years from now go back and see how I thought then. I also work on saying no. I was real big on being a people pleaser because I am a people person, but that doesn't mean I have to say yes to every single thing. Like Mandy was saying, boundaries are very important to have, or people will walk right over you and drain you, and now you have no energy left for yourself. And just being more quiet and calmer, just more so listening to get an understand standpoints, comprehending versus listening to respond, you know. So I even do that with my son that's here right now. He might, why mommy, and my patients be like, because I said so. But I have to understand he's a mini me. He wants to know why for a reason. He's very observant. He's very smart. So he's taught me patience to he's not saying why to be sarcastic or rude. He just sometimes you have to break things down, because even us right now, we go through things and we be like, why? Well, why not? I might be going through this. So it's just focusing on journaling and getting everything out of me, putting it out on paper, looking at it later on, revert to it, showing more gratitude, eating healthier, because they are a lot of chemicals in our food now, unfortunately. But yeah, just working on being the best version of myself, because I'm all I have at the end of the day.
Amazing. Thank you all for sharing all of these things. Literally, as I'm hearing you all speak and engage, I'm putting myself in the shoes of somebody who's out there listening and reflecting back on all the panels I've heard, over the years as a young person. And like y'all dropping a lot of gems right now. Y'all giving the people a lot of like practical things that I hope they can sort of take away. And particularly for any younger folks who are listening. I know we young on this call. We still young, but in a lot of ways we seasoned at where we are in life. And I do think when you're younger, some of these are things that unless you get the game from somebody who's been through the experience and has the wisdom, you can roll through a lot of potholes that are unnecessary. So I would really stress the health and wellness things that were just laid down for any young entrepreneur who's like, you find yourself in the middle of the grind, like this is your grind phase. And it's no way to change that. Like you got to work hard. You got to be up late, burning the midnight oil and all those things. Do take at least a moment, this year at some point to think about your health and wellness. It's way too many of us who are leaving earlier than we need to, literally leaving the earth earlier than we need to, because we're not taking the amount of time that we need to recharge ourselves. Like we're giving the world so much, we're moving so fast that it's almost like we're sacrificing ourselves to a degree in ways that we don't have to. Not saying that there's not going to be some sacrifice. There always will be. But it takes a lot to live, and not just to martyr yourself out here. So thank you all for what you've given. In a couple of minutes, we will be looking to transition into some of the community questions and the community Q&A. So Sandra, if you want to queue up those questions for us, please feel free. If not, if we didn't get any questions or don't have any, we definitely have more to keep going with, just off of what we've prepared. But to close it out, before we get to that Q&A, if we have any community questions, want to end with some more practical stuff that our audience can potentially walk away with. And we'll start with you, Mandy. And that, want to start with you because Official Black Wall Street is the fastest growing platform for finding and supporting Black owned businesses in the United States. Once again, the fastest growing platform in the United States for finding and supporting Black owned business. That's a big deal. That's a huge thing. And so just given your lived experience, the prominence of your platform, want to ask you, what's the importance of the importance of community building, right? And using community as a way to build your brand. Like what have you found in your experience that you think others can take away from?
Oh, I found that it's extremely important, especially for, I'll give an example with Official Black Wall Street. So when I first started building this company, it was more so a resource. I didn't necessarily see it being a business, or didn't launch it thinking, okay, this is, my side hustle. But what happened with that was in the very beginning, instead of focusing on, focusing on revenue or something, my focus was on building a community. So by the time we had a website, we had maybe over 100,000 people who were following us. And during that time, I was able to, do a lot of trial and error, really figure out what these people who followed us were looking for, what they gravitated to, the type of content that worked for them, that didn't work. And it was because of that, I was able to, grow this resource into a business, because now we have this massive community of people that are using our products, that are, wanting to be featured in front of this audience. I honestly didn't think of OBWS being a business until we built this community and had business owners that were like, hey, how much is it to advertise in front of this community? And that was when the light bulb went off. But I think, having that community in the very beginning was super helpful, because once we had a product to offer them, we had this community that we can get it in front of. So for me, it's been super important to, foster that community. Also, when it comes to getting the word out about what we were doing, that community offered, oh, I'm drawing a blank now. Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue, but they were able to tell other people about what we were doing, word of mouth. Lord have mercy. It was the word of mouth that was really helpful. And having that community facilitated all those things in one.
Excellent. So we do have a community question. I don't know if we have many. So if we don't have a lot, then I'll still follow up to get us some more of those practical takeaways for the audience. But this will be a question to everyone, and to the degree that we can stick more to the practical wisdom and just based off your experience, what you've kind of learned through your journey. The question is, what can I do to start a business? So it seems that this might be someone who's interested in starting their entrepreneurial journey or will be new to the game. So coming from that vantage point, what advice would you give to anyone who's fresh or looking to start a business from the ground up?
Business planning. Have a visionary plan and a business plan. That's where I messed up at. I was just saying, I'm gonna open up my business and open up the business, and I'm tangled eyed. So if you don't have it structured and you don't have your financial your financial literacy is very much important, because you can get a loan or you can have somebody invest in you, and if you don't invest it properly, you did it for nothing. So definitely have a business plan. What are your short-term goals and your long-term goals? Like, what do you see your business doing now until then? So definitely a business plan on how you're going to get this paid, how you're going to pay for your overhead, etc. So definitely business planning on my behalf, what I would say.
I'm happy to jump in. Yeah, I'll answer it. But I remember when I first started entrepreneurship, business plans used to be thick. And now that you see, nowadays business plans are very smaller. So just seeing like that change over time. All right. So, first with any business, you have to identify what is the problem or need you're trying to solve. So you want to find a pain point, right? Then around that, you need, I would say, to brainstorm around whatever the idea is that you're going to offer to the market, whether there's a product or service. And then you want to identify, okay, you have that product, that service. Next, you want to identify who that market is, right? So what does that market look like that you're going to be trying to sell your product or service to? Then you want to think about the distribution means, right? Like, now, how are you going to get that product or market into the hands of that market? Then you want to think about the economics of a unit around it, meaning the finances behind it, like how much is it going to cost you to make that product or service? How much do you have to sell it for to that market? And then what is going to be your break-even point? So when you're going to hit a return on investment from what you're selling. Though in the grand scheme of things, like when I think about it in a simplified way, that's how I always think about my business planning, right? But I 100% agree. You need to have a business plan because you want to think through something. What I see many entrepreneurs do is that they jump into entrepreneurship too soon, right? So you want to spend some time thinking about the business idea, how you're going to reach a market, do some piloting, do some testing to actually ensure that there's a market need for what you want to offer. And outside of business planning, you need to do personal planning, right? Sometimes people just jump 100% into entrepreneurship. They leave their job, et cetera, and then they run out of personal cash. They can't support themselves. And I always tell people that you don't want entrepreneurship to, you don't want chasing your dream to become a burden, right? So you need to also financial plan around yourself. So if you're thinking about starting a business, also have a personal plan of saying, okay, I need to get the business to X amount of sales, X amount of revenue, so that I can hire my first contractor or hire my first full-time person. And then I need to get it to X amount of revenue so that I can transition from whatever I'm currently doing to run the business full-time. So there's all these iterations of thinking that you should be doing as you're going along of starting a business. And with that said, I'll pause here and also say one last thing, that while we're telling you do all this thinking to mitigate risk, I'll also encourage you not to get stuck in analysis paralysis, right? Because one thing I've noticed before even starting my own entrepreneur journey is just working as a technology consultant is everyone is still figuring it out, right? The largest global national company you could think of, right? They're still figuring certain things out. So entrepreneurship is also based on a lot of perseverance and understanding that there's going to be things that you have to figure out along the way. So do upfront planning for risk mitigation, have an understanding of what you're going to be doing, test certain things to ensure that what you believe your market value is something that others are agreeing to, and that there's going to be a demand for the product or service that you're selling. And then do your own personal planning so that you don't make your dreams become a burden to yourself. And then don't get stuck in analysis paralysis, just go. And you will have to continue to figure things out as you go, regardless of the stage of venture that you're at. So that's not.
Now you got Evin.
Oh, no, I was just saying I'm good.
Big gems. Thank you all for that. Mandy, building along those points, same question in terms of, somebody's starting fresh out, what can they do? But also layering in that question around capital, right? Access to capital. That's often one of the first points and the sticking points that continues to be sort of a challenge over time is finding the capital, finding the money that you need to fund the startup phase of the business and continue funding the business. What practical advice or wisdom might you have around both starting up and then acquiring the capital that you need to fund your new business?
Yeah, good questions. And Breanna and Evin did a really great job at kind of outlining, what you need to get up and started. Um, the one thing I will add to that is, when it comes to figuring out exactly what you want to do or what industry, I always say start at what you're good at. And then, maybe what you're passionate about. And then from there, you can figure out what problem you want to solve within those areas. So if you're good at, a certain craft, or, if you're good at math, or science or whatever it is, that should help you determine what you want to actually go into or launch in terms of your business. The funding part is definitely tricky, and it's being an entrepreneur is literally trial and error again and again and again. So this is something I'm still figuring out. But for me, when I was starting, one way that I was able to fund our first app was through a crowdfunding campaign. For me, I knew I did not want to take out any loans, and I had no idea how to navigate, angel investors and VC funding. And so for me, and for many other entrepreneurs who also have that knowledge gap, crowdfunding is a great way to build the funds to start your business at the very beginning, kind of like a friends and family round. And so there are a number of platforms. There's Fund Black Founders, there's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and a number of others. There's also credit and searching for grant funding. Those are things that I definitely took advantage of, especially in the very beginning, when it's like you're still trying to get your footing and still trying to figure out how to entrepreneur in the first place. So I think, going those routes was really helpful. And there are a lot of different grant programs and even fellowships like the Global Good Fund, that have, the funding that you may need to help you get that start.
Shout out to the Global Good Fund. All of us on this call, entrepreneur in the Global Good Fund Network, apply to the Global Good Fund. Applications, I believe, will open next year, if I'm not mistaken, for the next opportunity for fellows. But they also have a few different programs. So don't just quote me on opportunities for next year. Go research it right now, so that you could potentially find out some opportunities to get funding through that platform as well. So we'll move into the closeout of today's session, and I'll close it out with two questions. Number one, what do you all want to leave us with in terms of what you're hoping to see for the future of Black entrepreneurialism, for Black enterprising? What do you hope to see over these next 5 years? What's getting you excited?
More mentors, more people who are knowledgeable to help the next generation that's coming. Because a lot of us didn't really have that, because the generation before us didn't know how to, grab certain information to teach us. They just knew how to do it. So and that's another thing I want to piggyback off with the question, when starting a business. Have a great mentor, especially someone who, and when I say this, I mean in a positive way, they look like you, that can relate to you. That's just like you getting a mentor or going to a therapist or talking to someone who hasn't lost their parents, and you have lost both your parents and they might still have theirs. They might be able to empathize you, but they're not going to be able to relate to you. So what they're saying is not going to, grasp to you. When you're able to talk to someone and they're able to show you and they intrigue you because you see yourself in them, it makes it a whole lot easier. So I definitely would say a lot, us being mentors and having more mentoring would definitely be the change in the world too. Positivity.
Thank you. And I see Sandra on our screen. I want to make sure we being mindful of time. You coming in to close us out with the remarks, Sandra?
I was just coming here to, revel and listen. Yes, Darius, but I also think I'd love to hear everyone else's responses to this question because I think this is a phenomenal question, Darius. So before I close you guys off, I'd love to hear, Mandy, Evin, even you, Darius, what you want to leave us with before we kind of, end the panel. These panels are never long enough. Just putting it out there, Global Good Fund for me.
I can jump in. I think one thing I'm excited to see when it comes to Black businesses or the Black community in general is just more generational wealth. And for me, that means resources as well as actual funds and wealth. I remember I was talking to this very young entrepreneur. She's in college and she's also an athlete. And she mentioned that her mom is an entrepreneur as well. And so her mom has been able to help her start this business at such a young age. And I was like, that's an amazing example of generational wealth and being able to have the knowledge, not just the money, but the knowledge to pass down to someone else and say, hey, here's the blueprint. So I look forward to, as we continue building businesses, being able to have more blueprints that we can pass down to other people so that they know how to do this and can, skip a lot of the pitfalls that we all go through.
I would just re-echo, to be honest with you, what both my fellow panelists just said. But I also want to circle back to what was said earlier of like understanding that in that future state, when you're working and you're building on your entrepreneurial ventures, that you are also making Black history, that like Derrius said, right? So I think when you're in those moments of uncertainty, when you're in those times of like needing re-motivation, use that as fire underneath you to understand. In those moments of gray and darkness and you're trying to figure it out, that those moments are you also pushing through and creating Black history. So if I want anything, I want, to leave other current and future entrepreneurs with the understanding of that they are also paying it forward. They're also making history. And I hope that continue. I hope that's a rolling effect of continuous motivation for everyone else to come. So that's what I would add there.
Amazing. We definitely made Black history today. So I'll start with that. We made Black history today, and that's important. Building on that, 5 years from now, I personally want to see more Black-driven, Black-led, Black-centered solutions. And sort of what I mean by that is us not having a need to sort of wait on non-Black allies to come in and provide the resources that we need to start up, to build pools of capital. That's sort of what's been at the center of Bro Capital's work for the past 7 years. It's Black men pooling capital with other Black men so that we don't have to be sort of one person at the table, sort of begging and asking for other people to bring capital into our community. We're taking that first step to build these pools of capital for ourselves so that is at least one resource. So I do want to see more allyship. I do want to see more non-Black institutions saying that we want to invest in Black communities because we think it's important. And we think that our collective destiny is tied together. But at the same time, the Black community and Black entrepreneurs not having to wait on non-Black outlets to validate them, to say they're important, to say that our culture matters, to say that our businesses matter, that we generate over $1 trillion in economic activity just as Black folks within the United States alone, that $1+ trillion in economic activity is led by us, right? So that's the thing that I'm most excited about, and that really motivates me tremendously to get up every day and keep doing this work.
Beautiful. This entire conversation was I really, really enjoyed. Derrius, thank you so much for being such an amazing moderator. Thank you so much, Breanna. Thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you so much, Evin. You guys are fantastic. As usual, the Global Good Fund community just shines, just shines. And particularly in Black History Month, it's one of my favorite months because we don't miss out on hearing from entrepreneurs like yourselves. And I just love it. As such, I want to say thank you to everyone who attended. The Global Good Fund is really excited to be hosting more of these kind of panels in the coming months, so please keep an eye out. For those who want to learn and know more about the fellowship, please feel free to email me or reach out. I'll leave my information. Yeah, that's it. Derrius, Mandy, Evin, Breanna, like, you guys are great. What can I say? You've made my Thursday. You made it happen. So thank you so much. I'll let everyone go now. We're 3 minutes out. But everyone have a beautiful rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, but wherever you're starting your day. So cool. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Jada, thank you.